We have the biblical and Book of Mormon mindset. And we have the Western culture mindset. And the East and the West, the twain, just ain't going to meet. For example, in the Western mindset, when we think about preaching the gospel, whether we're in a Baptist church, a Restoration Branch church, Catholic church, most any church, to us, preaching the gospel equals, generally speaking now, okay, equals transmitting information. We are big, culturally speaking, secularly and in the church culture, whether or not you're in the pulpit on Sundays or in the graduate classroom on Mondays. In our church culture, preaching equals knowledge, and knowledge equals information. Same way in graduate school or high school. There is such a high regard for it in our church culture and in our secular culture for paradigms, for concepts, for principles. Knowledge equals principles. Knowledge equals concepts. Example, I've just been itching to brag on our daughter. We have one daughter, and she, last couple years ago, just completed her second master's degree. Forgive me for bragging on our daughter. I don't know why God did this, but He did give us the only perfect child. She has a master's degree in education and an MBA, Master's in Business Administration. Do you know I'm not a betting man? But if I were, I would be willing to bet you my wife's paycheck that you could graduate from Harvard Business School, get an MBA at Harvard today, and you could name your job, you could name your career, you could name what state you want to live in. You got it made. You get an MBA in Harvard. Yet, and sadly in our culture, we don't see the discrepancy in what I'm about to say. Yet, I'll bet you $1 that you can get an MBA in business from Harvard, never having taken one course from a professor who owned one. A business. And the reason is because we have such a high regard for knowledge. Now, if you will look in the Gospel of John, the 3rd chapter, that interchange between Nicodemus, I didn't bring my Bible. I don't know if anyone has a Bible. A Bible. Does anyone have a Bible? If you don't, I can pretty well quote it. 3rd chapter of John, 1st verse. 16. You doing okay? This is pertinent to what Joseph restored, the gospel of the kingdom. Are you there?
John 3.
John 3, yeah, read the first verse.
There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus.
There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus,
A ruler of the Jews.
ruler of the Jews.
The same came to Jesus by night.
The same came to Jesus by night
And said unto him,
Rabbi,
we know that thou art a teacher.
Stop right there. One rabbi says to another rabbi in his Eastern culture, we know. Now here's a lost person. He doesn't know Jesus, but he's in his culture. We know you're a teacher. Come what?
From God.
Come from God. Oh. How did that lost rabbi know that he was a teacher? I want to stop right there and then you can finish it. In our culture, most anyone is considered a good teacher if he can share the information in a sequential way, logical way. Say, man, he's a good Bible teacher. Or man, he can teach the Book of Mormon. He's easy to understand. I really get the information. How did he know he was a teacher? That is the definition of a good teacher in our culture. What is the biblical understanding of a teacher?
For no man can do these miracles which thou hast done.
Stop, time out. Oops. Different mindset altogether. I said all that to say this. In our mindset, knowledge equals transmitting information. In our large culture, and in the Book of Mormon's same culture, and with Joseph Smith, and with the early saints in Kirtland, and in your church heritage, a teacher is someone who can bring an atmosphere of the miraculous. We know you're a teacher, for no man can do these miracles. Different mindset. So, this is pertinent to Lynn. This is our first night. I'm clearing the underbrush. We're doing a garbage dump. Okay. So, the kingdom mindset, the Book of Mormon mindset, our Lord's mindset, the biblical mindset, Joseph's mindset, your church history's mindset is preaching the gospel is not transmitting information, it's transferring an impartation. Jesus in preaching the gospel, Joseph Smith in preaching the gospel. They said something and they did something. Acts 1:1. O Theophilus, lover of God, of all that Jesus began, both to do and teach. Now we're getting somewhere. The gospel of grace is saying Jesus always said something and he did something. Joseph, the early saints, said something and they did something. The gospel of the kingdom is not in word only. It's a declaration. Yes, it is. Not only, though. The gospel of grace is a declaration only. But the gospel of the kingdom is a declaration as well as an impartation of that which you're declaring. Different mindset. So, just wanted to throw that in. That's the missing link a lot of times in our worship services. Our expectancy. We're not expecting for God to actually literally heal the blind right now. Raise the dead right now. Okay. And we're seeing that though. We were in Van Cleve, Mississippi, in a community of Christ just here recently. Anything that was within the last 10 years is recent. Okay. Invited wonderful brothers and sisters, Community of Christ Fellowship, about 400 there in the church, just north of Biloxi. Stephen Goff, the pastor. You doing okay? Okay. Stephen Goff, the pastor, asked us to come. Said, Lynn, can you come? Do a Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night? I said, yeah. So we went. Wow. I preached Thursday night. Preached Friday night. It's always a good sign when the saints linger. They don't want to leave. That's a good sign. Friday night, after we were standing around, Brother Stephen, the pastor, came up to me and excited and said, Lynn, Becky will be here tomorrow night. Oh, okay. I don't know. He was really excited. Oh, he said, yeah, Becky couldn't come Thursday night. She couldn't come tonight. But she can come tomorrow night. Okay. Her name's Becky King. Well, I preached Saturday night. Everybody's lingering around. Here comes Steve with a woman in her early 40s, I'm assuming. And he says, Lynn, I want you to meet Becky. You were standing right there, weren't you, hon? Yeah. And I shook Becky's hand. Now, why was Becky so different or unusual? Becky will be here tomorrow night. Becky had contacted a rare blood virus. Very rare. Her name is Becky King. They took her to the emergency room. They admitted her in intensive care. That night, she flatlined. Her husband was there. Of course, the ER team came rushing in, trying to revive her. Couldn't. She remained flatlined all night. The next day, husband still there, flatlined. All night, flatlined. The next day, the third day, she's still flatlined. By then, the hospital personnel was begging the husband, she's gone. Please let us remove the tubing. He wouldn't let her move. You're not taking my wife out of this intensive care unit. He calls the elders of Van Cleve Community of Christ. They come. They pray. They sat with her. All day, all night. They sit with her all week. She's flatlined. They sit with her another week. Husband won't let him. She's flatlined. They sit with her another week, 3 weeks. Husband won't let the personnel remove her. She's flatlined. They sit with her another week. That's 4 weeks. She's flatlined. She comes to. She's standing right in front of me, shaking my hand. The gospel of the kingdom. Jesus said to his disciples, I say unto you, go and preach the gospel of the kingdom. Here's what I want you to say. Now here's what I want you to do. Raise the dead. Cast out demons. Heal the sick. I'm seeing it. You doing okay? Oh, my wife's going like this. Let's take about a 10-minute break, okay? And then I'll finish. Okay. Thank you. By the way, I really do count this as a privilege. I never take this for granted. I'm a blessed Baptist. How many Baptists get to do this? I don't know of any. I don't know of any. And it's just a joy, a pleasure to minister to the saints. So thank you. Okay. Let's go on.